Hey, welcome to the Business Network Podcast. My name is Dean Renfro. I'm host of the podcast. We are so glad to have you with us. Business Network Podcast is all about helping local businesses, whether it's a brick and mortar store, an online store, a franchise, any kind of business owner that's trying to put the message out there about their business, their product, or their service. We want to interview them and give them a chance to tell their story about their service, their product, what their business is about to the world. And this gives them a platform to do that. And we're so glad to have you with us today. So let's get started with today's podcast. But first, a word from our sponsors.
There's a saying, you never get a second chance to make a first impression. Here at Lead Grabber, we agree. You've got one chance to grab the attention of your website visitors and one functional opportunity to lead them to action. With Lead Grabber, you can uniquely greet each visitor, encourage appointments to be set, capture more leads, give more value and access in a compelling way, funnel new customers into your sales process, facilitate new and more sales, save time and more money, build your brand, and so much more with custom integrations. Impress each and every one of your website visitors. Make your site stand out from ordinary websites and your competition. We invite you to get started with Lead Grabber today.
Well, that was a great word from our sponsor. You know, as we live in a world today that is all kind of people everywhere. We live in we live in a large metropolitan area, over 8 million people where we live. We live in a state with almost 28 million people. There, somebody would say, people everywhere. And oftentimes we find people in all kinds of plight in life. Some of us are doing well. We have a place to live. We have a job. We have food to eat, and we enjoy the things we enjoy. But then there's people on the other end of the spectrum that don't, for whatever circumstance. Things happen to people. And if you've never been in one of those situations, you probably don't think about how did that happen? What would you do? How would you get assistance? How would you survive? Well, today's guest, Diane's going to talk a little bit about her and her husband's nonprofit and about how they have taken up the mantle, so to speak, to do something about people that find themselves in that place. So Diane, tell us a little bit about yourself and about what y'all do.
Thank you so much for having me. I am so passionate about the people that we serve. What we do right now is we go to the homeless communities, wherever we find people living on the street, and we bring them the provisions that they need just to survive their current situation. Most people don't know that when you apply for assistance with the state, the city, any government, there is a waiting list of up to 2 years. So that's 2 years that these people are left unhoused. They find tents, they find places where they can sleep under an overpass or something like that. But they still need things to survive. They don't have access to showers. They don't have access for money to purchase new clothes. So we go, and at our outreaches, we serve them a wonderful lunch, hot coffee, but then they go down the line and they get hygiene packs, deodorant, toothbrush, toothpaste, and also baby wipes. Many people give us soap and shampoo, but if you don't have access to running water, you can't really use them. Baby wipes are so important for their hygiene to just clean up and do that. Then they go down the line, they can pick up clothes, coats, blankets, shoes. At the end of the line, we also have what we call a prayer team, and that's not mandatory. But there are a lot of people that just want to talk to somebody. There are some people that want prayer, and then we have Bibles and resources that we distribute at the end of the line.
Well, you know, I think is so important that we realize that helping those people is a part of being human. I think should be a part of our humanity. It's our way to give back. We've been, you know, the Book of Wisdom talks about the fact that to whom much is given, much is required. You know, and so there's an opportunity for those of us who've been blessed with the things that we have to say, how do I help somebody that maybe hasn't? And I think for you guys, that's been a great story. Tell us a little bit about how you got into this, you know, and what led you to, you know, actually doing this, because I think for most people, it may be an idea that maybe passed by them, maybe when they pulled up to the red light and they saw somebody, and maybe they've given, maybe they haven't given, or maybe they've driven by one of those tents, or even a tent city of people, or they've seen it on some TV show, and they think about, I wonder how those people make it. Maybe I should help. And maybe there's been that voice that spoke to them, but y'all got a story that goes beyond, it was an idea. Tell us a little bit about that.
So my husband and I met in 2013. Prior to that, we both had struggles. My previous husband had actually committed suicide and left us financially destitute. So we were always just making it. When I met my husband, we started going back to church together. And then in that church, we started volunteering to help the poor people in the area. And one day I was asked if I could spend the night in a warming station for the homeless that we had in our community. I had no idea we had a homeless population in our community, but I said absolutely, even though I did have a small fear, but I went and I served, and it was life-changing. The people that I served were so nice. They told me their stories. Some were actually working, but they couldn't afford rent. They told me their hopes, their dreams. The conversations that we had were amazing and such a blessing. And after that visit, I was just hooked. I knew that this was where I was being called to serve.
Well, it is. I think that is so true for many people. Until you've been there, you don't recognize what happens and what goes on in that process. And also, I think until you have the opportunity, because I think we when we're blessed, if you want to use that word, when we have stuff, because sometimes that's all it is. We call it blessing, but it's just stuff. And when we have all that, we don't realize that. We tend to think that people maybe who don't have it just don't care, or they don't want it, or they don't have whatever in their life. Maybe we kind of look down at them on that, not realizing that, no, they have hopes, they have dreams, and there's usually a story that they got where they didn't set out to do that. Now, I know I've talked to homeless people myself. I know there are homeless people who want to be homeless. They got something going on that they think they don't want to live that way. But most people that find themselves there aren't necessarily wanting to be there. They want to improve their situation in life. And it takes people like ourselves to step up and say, I can do something about that. I can, like you said, volunteer my time. But I think the big thing that you pointed out for a lot of people is, change in our life usually doesn't happen until we step out of our comfort zone. Like you said, I was had a little bit of fear about doing that. But once I did it, I realized I can do this, and I've been doing it, quote unquote, ever since. I think that's so amazing. So tell us a little bit about how you got from New York, you got down here, and sure enough, you left up there and you got down here, and what happened?
So a couple of years ago, we had a little change in circumstances where I stopped my secular job and started doing all my volunteer work. And we said to God, we want to serve in a bigger way. Wherever you send us, we're going to go. Not knowing, we're thinking we're going to have exotic trips. Maybe we're going to go to Africa. We're going to launch a church, something. But somehow we had an opportunity to relocate to the Houston area. And I said, all right, we promised we'd go, so we're going. We started volunteering with another couple who go and they just serve lunch down around the homeless community. They go every Saturday. And we decided to go with them. And we just knew that this is what we were called to do. We sat with the people, we talked, we heard, again, their stories. And what people don't know is that there is 30 to 40% of the homeless actually have an income. They can't afford the high rents anymore. Over 30% of the men we serve are veterans. That's a very sad statistic. So they have so many stories, and most Americans have no savings or major savings. We are all just one tragedy, one life-changing event away from possibly becoming homeless ourselves. So I was scared when I started it, but that was evaporated so fast. And if we could just get people to maybe volunteer at a shelter, volunteer to distribute food, volunteer at a food bank, at a soup kitchen, they're safe. You're safe. You're protected. Just talk to somebody. We run the problem of sometimes of having this almost like a zoo experience where we're going out of curiosity just to see the attractions. And that's not, we've all done it though. We've all been in the car and, shook elbows and said, hey, look at that guy, look over there, look at, what a shame, poor people. And then we drive on. Take that first step, contact us. We'll take you out with us. It's very important just to step out of your comfort zone and just have a conversation.
Yeah, I think that's so true, Diane. It is that. It's that first step. That's what you have. Just take the first step and take it with people who've been there. It's one thing, like you guys, kind of have blazed a trail to give people that opportunity. That, now we don't have to. We can partner, like you said, with you guys because you're already doing this kind of thing, and you have experience and you know how to help people through the process of that. A couple of things you've alluded to here in the process. One is you kind of started a list. So for our viewers, kind of tell people a little bit about some of the things you need, how they can get involved with you guys, and where you're trying to kind of focus at. So if they're around those areas or they know someone who lives in that area, then perhaps they could point them to that direction. So tell us a little bit about that.
Okay, so as far as the needs go, most of the homeless living on the street are men. Women tend to do better in shelters than men do, and children and people with children are housed fairly quickly. So most of the people we serve are men. We're always collecting clothes, blankets, tents, shoes. We've had people donate bicycles, and those are amazing because this gives the homeless, especially if they're working, transportation. And that's a wonderful thing. So we're always taking those donations. More than that, we are always desperate for monetary donations to buy our hygiene products. We buy our stuff in bulk from the Dollar Tree. So each kit costs us $5 to make. And if we're handing out 300, 500, however many we need a month, you can see how that adds up very quickly. So that's always where our monetary shortfall is. It costs us about only $300 to feed the homeless when we go out, because we are having our meat donated by the Cowboy Church. Okay. And that's a wonderful resource for us. So monetary donations are a little harder for us to get. There are a lot of people asking for money, and we understand that. And the homeless population is not a warm and fuzzy, people touch their hearts and want to donate to. It's not an abused puppy, and it's not, God forbid, a child that is sick. So it's a little harder to find those resources. We're very, very, very blessed in the amount of things that people give us. I put out a call and I've got 10 people donating their shoes. It's wonderful. So we're very blessed there. But, we're blessed to bless people, and we need to be blessed a little bit more financially to buy those resources that we hand out.
That's cool. I know before we talked a little bit about some of the things that y'all have going on, you've had some companies reach out and help, and some companies that are going to help. Tell us a little bit about how that works, and how maybe some of our viewers, companies could get involved with you guys, or churches, or organizations that could get involved in some of this exact idea that you just mentioned.
A wonderful way to do team building exercises for your company and your employees is to do a packing party. So we had Oventive Gas and Oil Company hold a packing party for us, and they filled 300 backpacks. They went above and beyond. The few things that we asked, they actually filled in also with socks and jogging pants and so many other things. And their employees got together and they did an assembly line and packed all of that, which is wonderful. And that really helped us for a major outreach. Now we have People Ready, who is stepping up to do another backpacking party that we're going to. And they're going to do enough. It's going to last us a couple months. What a blessing that is.
Sure.
They also want to talk to us about partnering some more. So holding packing parties together is an amazing way to get your employees involved. Also, we go and we speak about what we do. And then we invite them to distribute the things that they packed. I mean, to see what your work in action is really life-changing. A lot of the people from the companies that have done that have gone to the outreaches and they continue to do work with us. So it's just an amazing win-win situation.
Wow, that is awesome. And definitely, if you're a viewer watching this and your company would like a project like that, you can reach out to Diane. She's going to give us their phone number and website here in just a minute. But, you know, in their organization, Matthews Light, it's what it's called, it is part of that opportunity, you know, exists to help people, for you to have the opportunity to give out of your inner being. And what I really call it, you know, my concept of a blessing is when you can give something to somebody and they can't return the favor. You get, I believe you get more benefit out of that than doing a good for somebody, you know, like mowing your neighbor's lawn when they're gone on vacation, so they'll mow yours when you're gone on your vacation. That to me, it might feel good for a minute, but when you really do something for somebody who can't return it, that to me, that says something about you as a person, but it also says internally something about your spirit, your opportunity that you have. So Diane, tell us a little bit about how people can get a hold of you. There's different ways if they want to reach out and be a part of this.
So you can look us up on www.matthewslight.org.
Okay. Is that with an A? Is that Matthews with an S?
Matthews with an S, right?
Okay.
METTHEWSLIGHT.org.
Okay.
You can also call me, and I'm sorry, I still have my Pennsylvania exchange, but it's area code 570-832-0863. You can also email me at dianer@matthewslight.org.
Great. That's awesome. I know one big plan that you guys have, I think, is a great opportunity that you're looking to do that could really move your organization forward. Tell us a little bit about that plan for this next year.
So we are working on our business plan right now to open a resale shop. It's going to be in the Old Magnolia Tomball area, but we have resources that people and other companies have stepped up big time to help us. So we have a company that it's College Hunks, and they do junk hauling, and they have a warehouse full of things that instead of putting them in landfills, they want to give them to us once we're open. So we can repair the furniture, clean it up, sell some, but we also want to be able to donate things to children aging out of foster care system, getting their own place, women and children coming out of domestic violence situations, trafficked people being housed, and of course our homeless that are coming off the street. So we want to have blessing days where we can furnish their new homes. So to make this all self-sustaining, we want to open up our resale shop so we can sell some, donate some, and have it all fund the work we do.
Well, I think that's excellent. So if you're watching this podcast with us today and something just went off in your head like, oh, wait, I might could help with that, or I know someone, or I have a resource for that kind of thing, or I want to give toward that idea, you know, you can do that. Now, you guys are a nonprofit, so people's donations are tax deductible. And so be reminded of that. If you need a place to give and or to want to give above and extra, this is a place you can do that. And your donation your offering, so to speak, goes right here. It's not going off somewhere else. It's right here. You can participate in it. From what I've heard Diane talk about, they will welcome you to come participate in your time and be a part of it, and actually get to see what, as she pointed out earlier, what your work and what your money goes toward, and how it's impacting someone's life. So Diane, as we wrap up here, what's one last thing you'd like to leave our viewers with about this, about your ministry and what you guys do?
Well, what you just touched on about the money staying in the community, we're also 100% volunteer network, and we work out of our home. All the money we get goes directly out to helping the people we serve. We don't have big salaried people. We don't have any salaried people. We don't have that kind of overhead. So that's very important. We have very large, long-term goals to develop a whole program to get the people off the street into our care, and then to get them through different, and those models do exist now, but we want to take it into a future model where we're going to work with energy self-sufficient companies and hydroponic growing and gardening, and do indoor community gardens, and take it future forward, a model that can be built in all inner cities around the country. So we have big goals that we would really like to partner with larger companies to try to work together and see how we can create something very different than the models that exist now.
Yeah, I think that I thank you for that, and that's a great tip to share. Things today have changed, and are changing. Technology is changing so many different things. I've seen where people have a whole self-sustaining garden on top of their building.
Yes.
I've seen people grow acres of food inside a storage container because they figured out how to create those kinds of with technology, how to create those kinds of farms that normally we wouldn't even thought about that. But not only that, they also have created for themselves an economy, a self-sustaining economy of things they can sell. And so when you talk about organizations that are thinking that way, to me, that is a great opportunity for our viewers and other people that we know to say, hey, let's step in and help that kind of ministry happen. So again, we thank our viewers for being with us today. We'll see you next time on the Business Network podcast.
Wow, what a great show today. I appreciate our guests, each and every one of them, as they come on and are part of the Business Network podcast. You too perhaps might be a business owner and you'd like to feature your business and tell your story, and we'd love to have you as a guest. You can go to the businessnetworkpodcast.com, and you can see the link here on the screen, and just fill out an application. It's not an obligation to be on the show, but we want to start the process with you to be able to say, hey, let's talk about your business and see how this podcast could be a great fit for you, and for you to get the assets that go along with this show to be able to promote your business in a lot of different places. So, hey, thanks again. We look forward to you being with us again on the Business Network podcast. Talk to you soon.